one of you on the stage made the point, which is exactly right. Government's where you scale up. Maybe a number of you did. And so if you are doing outstanding STEM education in rural communities in West Virginia or Kentucky, I just happened to see somebody who's doing that great work. And you've got a model that really makes sense. Rather than you spending a whole bunch of time grant writing to get that funded for, 2,000 kids, just one provision in a minor piece of legislation somewhere in Congress can suddenly expand that model to 10 million or 50 million kids. And by the way, the cost will be the equivalent of maybe 1 or 2 F-16s. No, just to give you a sense of proportion and scale. So, so politics matters. And the question then becomes, A, how do you change the culture so people are not turned off of politics, but rather turned on by being engaged in politics? And number 2, how do we get some of the best talent to say at some point, this is a good option for me? That, I don't have all the answers to that. I do think that politics becomes more attractive when people have been involved in campaigns. And so people like Mayor Pete, I think it's fair to say myself, Renzi in Italy, we were able to attract young people to get involved in the campaign, and once they were involved, then they realized this is attractive. And so I think having campaigns that are predisposed towards reaching out to young people and giving them actual power is a great way to make people feel like this is a career I might pursue. And the second thing that's a really good incentive for getting young people involved in politics is winning. And as a consequence, civic work that encourages young people to vote, which in turn makes it more likely for young dynamic candidates who want to do things differently to win, which then in turn allows them to deliver, which then in turn reinforces the idea that politics can make a difference. That's really important. So, you will be able to recruit really good candidates to all kinds of offices when they start feeling as if there is a base, there is a constituency that is going to support them. Which is why it's not a chicken or egg thing, but you can get on a virtuous cycle or a negative cycle. And right now we're in a negative cycle. Young people are cynical about politics. They don't vote. As a consequence, young dynamic candidates don't win. The old fogies and the corrupt authoritarian structures in a whole bunch of countries continue to perpetuate power, which makes people more cynical, which means they withdraw further, which means the worst politics wins over and over again. And so the question is not either or, are you non-profit or you're civic versus politics. The question is, if in the nonprofit work and the civic work that's being done, there's a direct understanding that you are in a body politic, you have responsibility for the civic culture you're creating, and everything you do is not designed to reinforce cynicism about politics, but rather to infuse it with a sense of purpose, and getting more and more young people involved, that in turn is going to lead to a whole bunch of young people saying, oh, if I go out there and I'm willing to put up with crazy stuff, which is inherent in politics, I also know that I've got an army behind me. that is interested in what I'm doing. And then the third thing, anybody who's involved in media, journalism, et cetera, don't reinforce this idea that politics can't deliver. Because I think Matteo, myself, others who've been, Mayor Pete, have been involved in politics where we will do some really amazing stuff and it doesn't get reported, or because you only get half a loaf, you don't get all of it, but you get half of it or 3/4 of it. Everybody's like, this is terrible. What a failure. You didn't deliver. We're so disappointed. You didn't get a public option. This is what we got right now. We'll get more later. But I think that also feeds cynicism. We had a sticker in the White House that we used to pass around, fight cynicism, guard against cynicism. Because I think that's part of what prevents us from being able to recruit people. It's not people don't want to take responsibility. It's that they feel as if they're out there alone, unprotected, unsupported. And then, you get a few megalomaniacs who are willing to do it anyway, like me. So, all right? Great job, everybody.